the infamous warlord Wazuban. Rising as the son of an obscure farming peasant from Ayakis, now many myths and legends surround the meteoric rise of this ruthless warlord. Few could have ever imagined that one of such lowly stock could have galvanized a kingdom in decay and led a downtrodden people to such victory and conquest. This is his story. Well, any story about a son must begin with the father. This is Wazoo. He lives in Ayakis, a sprawling and thriving city deep in the Aserai kingdom. Despite its harsh climate, Ayakis is full of nice people, but like any big city, you need to be careful which alleys you go down at night. Fortunately for our farmer, not only was he born hardscrabble, but Wazoo also has no dinars. In fact, he owes more money to his landlord than he can ever hope to pay back. Still, despite eternal destitution and back alley muggings, Wazoo finds his life full of small pleasures. From the beautiful and thriving city he lives in to the well-endowed reproductive organs bequeathed to him, Wazoo is happier than you might expect. Still, to make ends meet, Wazoo also works at the Sandy Crotch, a small but trending tavern in the heart of the city. Wazoo actually likes the clients, but the owner is also his landlord, the tavern keeper. This rapacious fuck is too lazy to do anything other than sit by his bread and sip beer all day, while Wazoo is forced to hand out food and pick up never-ending fucking mugs. After banging his head again on the rafters over the counter, Wazoo couldn't help but wonder if there was more to life than working the fields all day, picking up fucking mugs all evening, and getting mangled by gangs on his way home each night. After all, Wazoo is huge. Eventually, the landlord relented and sent Wazoo and 5 other servants to the nearby village for supplies. Very quickly, though, they were ambushed in the sandy wastes. Wazoo, like most peasants, had no formal fighting training, reduced to throwing rocks and then aiming savage kicks and blows with his massive hands. Unfortunately, no sooner than they had teabagged and looted their opponents, more villains assaulted them and annihilated Wazoo's small gang. After a few days of torture, the gang realized that not only was Wazoo completely broke, but he was also fucking heavy, so they ditched him in the sandy dunes. Struggling under the burning hot sun, Wazoo heard the sound of hoofs and called for help, only to realize that help was the last thing that was coming his way.
Look at them run!
Listening to the taunting bandits, Wazoo realized he needed a horse, and fortunately found a willing donation. Starving and lost, he now looked to head home back to Ayakis. Local traders told him he was now nowhere near Ayakis, but rather close to the imperial city of Oneira. For all his dark moments, though, this was a new experience, as he watched the destruction of an Aserai army by the Southern Empire. Distraught by the sight of so many dead citizens, Wazoo longed to help the Sultan. Returning home to Ayakis, Wazoo encountered another battle between the Aserai and the Southern Empire. Desiring a closer look at the battle, Wazoo hid near the trees but was constantly assaulted by ornery horses from the battle. Finally finding a higher spot, Wazoo watched the battle with fascination, shifting to disbelief, and finally deep depression. Even with his simple street sense, he could see that the Aserai were being led into battle by dipshits. But before this smug thought could settle into his brain, a tumult and cry of the enemy arose around him, and he realized his position was no longer safe. Spurring his horse to escape, his panicked beast sprang to a quick gallop, right off the high cliff face. Despite several broken bones, including one that had punctured a testicle, Wazoo was helped from the battle by the surviving Aserai forces. 4 months later, Wazoo was at the city of Razi when it was besieged by the Southern Empire. He was heartened to see that the Sultan's son Unquid was in command. Always a man of action, Wazoo wanted to help in some way, and he knew he could throw rocks. His aim, though, was a little wild. Unfortunately, after his double-parked horse caused a massive delay in reinforcements that resulted in a massive breach, Unquid was apoplectic with rage, and Wazoo decided he was better off sticking to using his massive fists. Fighting with minimal armor, the enemy was overcome again and again by brute strength, as Wazoo made a name for himself with 17 kills in the defense. Thrilled by the valor of battle and driven by the zeal of patriotism, Wazoo fought recklessly in the van, taking on nobles and warriors of great skill with absolutely no fear. Even so, this was Wazoo's first experience of fighting armored foes, and he was shocked to see how many savage blows these nobles could take and keep on fighting. He started adding kicks and even more savage blows, realizing he might be able to simply blast enemy combatants off the ramparts. Despite his very best efforts and the fierce valor of the militia, the Imperials, decked out in their plate armor, were simply too strong, and the city was lost. Wazoo led an honorable retreat and vowed to come back stronger another day, just with more broken bones. Ultimately, with the loss of Razi, there was no denying that the Aserai's empire was starting to buckle. If a leader did not emerge soon, all might be lost. All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and in this episode and the following episodes, we are going to be dedicated to an Aserai campaign. This has been requested for quite some time, so we're going to go ahead and start a sandbox campaign. I'll explain some of those differences in a moment, but first, we are going to, of course, play the Aserai. Now, I don't find these penalties or benefits very material, except perhaps speed on the desert. Now, you've already met Wazoo, of course. He's going to be our protagonist for this series. He needs to be a gigantic-looking, Arabic, sturdy-looking farming fella here. Now, this guy here picks up mugs in the evenings. He farms during the day. He's got a very manly voice here. Maybe not a huge amount of intelligence, but we're going to go ahead and say that this guy is going to embark upon some freedom here, right? We're going to essentially add a little role-playing element to this, and I will describe that more in detail. So first, let's design our character here, right? Wazoo, as you've already noticed, is huge, right? He likes to eat. He likes to get tall. We're going to give this guy a big gnarly beard here, some nice dark brown eyes. All of the traditional things that you would typically see in the desert, and most of these have been physiologically proven to have evolved with the climate, right? Your darker skinned folks generally evolved in hot climates because of the sun, and of course you pale Northern European fucks, no offense, of course, I am one of you, we tended to evolve away from the equator. So here we go. Here, this is a good look for Wazoo with a nice big beard, a nice full head of hair, and a gigantic body. We're going to eventually give him a scar, or maybe his son a scar. We'll have to kind of see how the role-playing goes. It's strange you can actually change your character mid-game. But first, let's go ahead and make our character here, right? We're going to talk about a few of these steps, but I'm not going to take forever for this process. Now, I'm going to focus on intelligence, endurance, and vigor with skills. In particular, I want a guy who can ride a horse, throw javelins, medicine skill, lead a party, and we're going to skip some of these, right? We're going to skip social, we're going to skip cunning and tactics and stuff like that. Not because I don't want them, but because I want to specialize, right? You really are forced to specialize in Bannerlord, and this guy, athletics and one-handed, that probably be riding and throwing. That makes more sense here. So I'm not going to actually get too scientific about this. But what I want to focus on is not tactics. I want to focus on medicine skills, leadership, and then combat ability. Riding and medicine. See, this is perfect. +1 attribute point to endurance, attribute point to control, athletics, and throwing. That'll work. Riding and polearm. See, I'm not going to use a polearm very much. We are going to throw javelins. We might go two-handed at one point, but we're going to start off one-handed. And more vigor. I like the renown with that one. Let's see what else we got here. Renown. Intelligence. See, I'm not going to smith either until very later on, and I will talk about that. The smithing is essentially going to be an optional thing that I may enter if I start to have a hard time in the campaign. Endurance. I think this top one makes the most sense. One-handed and two-handed plus a bunch of renown. And let's, true to form here, true to the role-playing role, this guy's going to start off at 40. And the benefit of that is you get these unspent focus points. If you start out at 50, the problem is your character can die like a year into the campaign. Can't have that. I will talk more about plans for the campaign as well. I have very specific plans for the campaign as far as time and mods. I will get into that in great detail here, but first let's get our legs underneath us here. Azwahir, we're just going to have a random claim name or clan name, and of course Wazoo is our protagonist. So this gigantic Arabic bartender slash I guess he's more of a bus boy, right? He's a bus boy and a farmer. This guy here, we're going to say he won a few brawls, and the Sultan actually entered him into some tournaments, and he destroyed everybody in bare-handed, bare-knuckled boxing, and so he got a sinecure with the Sultan. A sinecure, basically, it's the amount of money you get every year from the government in medieval times, oftentimes with very little strings attached, right? You might be a jester, or in this case, we're going to say our guy was a boxer. Now, again, I'm going to be focusing on intelligence, especially steward and medicine skills, a little bit of engineering eventually, a little bit of charm eventually as well, but then also primarily combat abilities. I want this guy to have some ability to fight for himself. That's important for everything from tournaments to, when you're down in a tight battle, helping your troops. But he's also going to be able to field a significantly sized force and also have some decent medicine skills, so he'll get some requisite perks. Now, I'd love to recruit a companion like this early on. How much does this guy cost? He's got... and I will be getting into these details in great detail. Now, let me just start off by saying I am not a strat gaming guide guru on every single companion. Like, this guy's too expensive. We can't afford him now. What I am going to be doing, though, is focusing on leaders and combat partners early on, right? I want to get... I think it's called the Golden is one of the character surnames, right? The companions all have a surname. And by the way, here we're just selling some of his civilian gear because we're not going to be fucking around with the back alleyways here. You can tell from the trailer, Wazoo gets his ass beat in the alleyway. Actually, this sword, I want this sword. So we're going to switch this sword out from his civilian gear. I'm going to start to wield that right from the get-go. Now, I'm selling equipment here right away because in the very early stages of Bannerlord, it's all about fiscal management. I mean, of course, it's all about survival as well. That's part of fiscal management. Financing, basically your troops is one of the most critical parts of early-stage Bannerlord. You must acquire some gold. You must pinch pennies. You must sell every single fig and piece of loot and scrap you can. And Wazoo especially because he owes his landlord lots of money. I want a shield too. You need a shield early on because you're going to get 1,000 rocks thrown at you by looters. So we're going to give him a cheap shield, something he can hold up to distract looters, and then we're going to recruit lots of baseline recruits. Not a lot of we're also looking for quests, of course. Not a lot of higher level troops, and what I mean by that is no noble troops, at least for a little while, because again, we're in fiscal management here. These guys are cheap, 20 gold each, and we will be buying very spare foods for them. I will talk more about food and its relationship to steward later on here. We're going to do a little bit of history, though. We're gonna talk about a variety of different subjects. Undoubtedly, I'm going to ramble. I will talk in great detail strategically about companions, about taking care of armies, about campaign strategy and stuff like that. And then we will talk a little bit about the role-playing element of this campaign, as well as some of the baseline rules. Now, I got to tell you, fellas, I'm not going to play... like a lot of experienced players play Bannerlord, where they run around. We track some looters down here. I guess I better tell you about this first. Basically, my process here is to we're going to form two squares. we're going to send one infantry division onto the left flank hard. Our right flank is going to be a squared. These guys will come around the hard. On the second flank, there will be a circle in the middle. I'm just fucking with you fellas. There is no advanced combat early on in Bannerlord. You're just charging with a bunch of guys with a sharp stick and trying to knock some looters around. Now, you can do little things to help your guys out. One of the things you can do is distract here, right? I'm just holding up my shield and attacking the occasional looter. I'll throw the occasional javelin, but most of the time early on here, it's all about numbers, right? You want to have 9 on 6 or 12 on 9 or whatever it is, right? You just want to outnumber your opponent, and preferably, of course, eventually you want to start to upgrade some of these troops. So we had a couple losses, but we don't give a fuck. We'll just recruit more. They're cheap, 20 gold each. Of course, we're going to take all the loot we can early on here. We're going to look for quests, and we're going to do upgrades. Now, I'll talk about the troop line in great detail during this campaign, but what you need to know for now is that this right side is specialized, and these left side is sort of bread and butter. Footmen and archers, right? So we're going to be upgrading to the tribesmen. You see how it splits here. These guys have a shield, and then eventually we'll get some archers. I'm not going to fuck too much with cavalry or shock troops early on. You just need shields to hold up your shield against incoming cavalry with a spear. You need to buy these guys some food, and I will talk more about steward skills. This is Unquid. He looks very vulnerable right now. There's something I'd like to discuss. This is your one chance to surrender or die, you fuck. Nah, just kidding, fellas. Forgive me, it's nothing here. Of course, we'd immediately be captured and the whole campaign would go sideways. We're going to fuck around a little bit in this campaign. Hopefully you guys can forgive me. We're trying to keep things lively here. I really think a campaign like this tends to be kind of slow and boring to watch, but I've had an enormous amount of requests for people to see a full campaign, so here we go here. Now this guy wants us to get tools. That's not a great quest. I'm not a quest master either. There's probably people who know every single quest. The tools quest, you basically collect some tools for these dipshits and retrieve and get a reward for it. Tools are expensive early on. We're going to be concerned about food. We're going to be concerned about the movement speed of our group, and we're going to be concerned about the financial situation of our army. I am an amateur financial advisor for fellows at work. I have a mathematical mind. I studied advanced calculus in high school, actually. I've forgotten most of it, but that side of my brain just whirs. Mathematics excites me and stimulates my brain, whereas a lot of people, it gives them a headache. So the financial part of it is simple here. You have a daily upkeep. I don't think we can handle hideouts this early on. We'll wait on hideouts. And of course, I told you before, it's all about numbers. We're going to recruit one of these cavalry, partly for speed, but right now we're trying to pick on armies that are 6 or 7 in size. We want basically armies that are smaller so that we can easily mop up. If we lose 5 or 6 troops that are killed in a battle, Jesus, these are some huge desert bandit armies already. I don't think I have any mods that are making these armies so big. We shall see. But this is one of the quests we want. I know this quest. You guys all know this quest. Basically, you get credit or whatever you want to call it. These local villages being harangued by bandits will pay you money if you sort of collect the scalps or the ears or whatever of these bandits. Evidently, they have, some kind of technology that lets them determine that you've hunted down bandit parties for them. We can sell a little bit of our gear here. Again, financially, it's very much a delicate balance early on. You got to be careful you don't recruit too many troops or recruit the wrong troops, because it gets very expensive early on. You see me already turning down companions that ordinarily I would love to hire, and you see us running from desert bandits because I can't handle 25. You need to be careful about getting caught in the open. Now, 5 is good. Now, here's one of the things with speeds. Most of you guys know this, of course. We're comparing our speed to them, 5.2 to 4.8. That means if we chase this fuck long enough, we will run him down, and we like our odds 11 versus 5. Now, eventually we will be auto-resolving some of these, but a lot of guys want to see these, right? So I'll basically show you my process, right? Kill them all, throw a javelin right in the chest of the guy charging you, and then you help your fellows with these 4. But, of course, it's, what, 11 on 4, 11 on 5? I guess it's 11 on 4 now. And most of the time you're going to be able to crush the opposition We killed their cavalry already. You know, when you outnumber them 2-1, right? We're getting upgrades, and it's all about just very incrementally, slowly farming and improving our army here, right? We're getting some upgrades. We're getting a little bit of loot. We're getting skill points each time. And it says hunted 1 of 2 of the brigands, right? We're finishing these quests. Now, you see how many cavalry they have? That affects their speed. And these desert bandits in particular, with your early army, I'm going to talk about a lot of this as if players have never played before. I understand a lot of people watching this are probably experts at the early stage, probably snickering at how badly or how stupid or inefficient I'm going about things. But I'm going to include some of these things here just because some of these guys watching this have either never played before or are just learning. This guy readily engaged us. We didn't have to chase him down, which is usually a problem early on. Usually that means that the AI thinks that you're toast. And obviously there isn't a bunch of advanced tactics you can do in the early game, right? Now you can position your heavy horse out in front of the shield wall. You can do very subtle things. And essentially that gives the enemy a target besides your archers or besides your little tiny infantry division. You can do tactics, but it's very marginally affecting the battle. What affects it more is accurate javelin throws, is making sure you don't get killed, stabbed, and shot from your horse by some brigand with the javelin or whatever like that, and attacking in concentration. These 5 or 6 foot troops just arrived at our troops. We charge. Now those guys will go to work on them, right? You see me helping here by an occasional sword slash, and I'm kind of like a mama goose hanging out near her chicks, right? This archer here, I want to protect him, so this fucking guy here coming for our archer, right? We're gaining levels because we're smoking these fuck brigands. And this is, again, why I wanted to have some modicum of combat skills for this early game. If you go into it, and by the way, you're definitely holding up your shield to these spear guys on horses. This is basically the most dominant force of warfare for the last 5,000 years, right? Until, what was it, World War I, right? Where the horse was finally destroyed, the Polish charge or whatever. Cavalry, basically a dude sitting on a horse with a sharp stick, has dominated warfare for forever, right? So we can run in here with our spear, and this will help, right? I can basically tell our guys stand still, and then we can stand the horse up. Oops, I have it on the fastest speed, and you have won the battle, right? And again, no losses, right? One loss, and we rack up a bunch of upgrades. So I think it was like 2500 BC that the first evidence of men riding horses started to dominate the battlefield, right? And of course, that was a very early stage. For the last 4,000 years, basically a guy on a horse with a big stick has been the main factor of war, right? It's only the last 800 years or so that other forces really significantly started to alter that. Although I can definitely hear some purists saying, well, what about the Greeks and the Romans? They mangled everything with a phalanx and shit like that. That's true. But ultimately, large forces of cavalry usually overwhelm men on foot, and that has been the case throughout most of history. It's still the case in Bannerlord, right? This Bannerlord is, I think I read once that the developers intended this to be actually like the year 700 or 800 as far as the advancement of cultures, but obviously it's also strange. It's the year 1084. So you're right on the edge of where archery was starting to become a major factor, right on the edge of Agincourt, right on the edge of the Battle of Crécy, and other situations where archers started to play a major role. I understand I'm rambling. Of course, I'm trying to play the game and also provide narration here. Bear with me, fellas. But the bottom line is that cavalry are dangerous early on for you. If you're running around in a campaign like this, these desert bandit parties, you want to inspect them, basically. And when it's a situation like that, 3 and 3, I can't even catch that guy, right? Your foot speed in this campaign map like this is largely determined by how many horses you have, right? We'll be buying horses to speed up our army. And of course, if you're trying to chase something down that has lots of horses, you can't catch them. Right. Conversely, if it's lots of infantry, you can see 5.3 for us and 4.8 for them. We're going to be able to run these guys down. Now, here's the problem, right? If we engage there, that other large desert bandit force is going to attack us. In fact, I'm kind of getting surrounded here. It's not a real comfortable feeling because getting captured early in a campaign like this will set you back a good couple weeks. But basically, we're using a little bit of caution here. We're picking on the weak, right? We're doing basically might makes right. Some of these I will auto-resolve, but a lot of these I'm just going to show you early on. We will whiz through them. You'll see me throw my javelin and wheel out of there so I don't get fucking hit in the face with a spear like one of our troops, one of our recruits. He got fucking smoked by a man on a horse with a stick, right? Like I said, it's still dominant. This fuck's throwing javelins at us too. And these guys are highly dangerous, right? These brigands or whatever they're called. Yeah, this fucking guy. The guy with the stick and the guy with the javelin and a stick. Those are, you want to pay attention early on in your campaign. Now, what are some things you can do? Well, one thing you can do for sure is get yourself a spear. If you're a foot troop or you're just standing there with your horse, you can really stand up enemy horses by having a spear. Just stick that spear right in front of the horse's chest. It'll rear up. The guy will stop, and then you can have him just like that. You can have your way with them exactly like that, right? That's also why you want to upgrade your troops, because your baseline recruit has no spear, right? So he gets fucking destroyed by cavalry. So you want to be careful how many cavalry you're facing. I think I've made that point by now. And early on, especially, cavalry are very potent in Bannerlord. Got ourselves a nice jagged sword here. I think this is the giant scimitar looking thing. I like a long weapon, even as a one-hander early on, because I can reach guys safer swinging at them, right? I don't have to be right on top of them. Of course, you have to watch your speed. You can get killed a lot because you're swinging and it takes you forever. 1,000, 2 Mississippi, 3, and you're hit by the other guy's sword. But a long weapon for me is preferable early on. Now, I'll be doing this some too. You just click this little box. All you guys know this. I'm not going to show you the selling and buying of every single piece of loot, but this first 45-minute episode, hour-long episode, I'm going to just simply play the entire thing, no editing. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to occasionally auto-resolve something, like if we trap 4 bandits with our 15, and I'm going to speed things up, right? I have this better time mod that allows the 4x speed. God, these huge bandit parties. I'm not sure if this is normal, these 25 groups of bandits, but this guy, I think, trapped himself. So we're going to try to corner this guy. So as I cornered this guy, nothing too exciting here, 13 on 6, I'll talk about the financial management, right? You have a cost to your army to pay your troops, right? And of course, fortunately, the recruits and the lower level guys are quite cheap. This becomes a non-factor probably by about clan tier 3 or 4, unless you get really overzealous with your recruiting. I'm very, very much trying to micromanage this, because sometimes these fuckers will make you look hilariously bad and sneak out. I think we got this guy. Fucking trap motherfucker. You'll never take us alive. Well, that's fine. We don't want you alive. We want to kill your putrid fucking body. Hasn't showered in fucking forever. And we're going to take all your stuff. Come with us. Yeah, look at the scimitar this guy has now. I wish there was a mod to make Wazoo even bigger. I would love to make him like 8 feet tall. You're more vulnerable with height, by the way. I will get back to the finances, by the way, for those people wondering. Look at his javelin skill. It's like when I'm drunk and I try to pee in a toilet, it just goes everywhere. His javelin throws are all over the place. Of course, his skill is low. It's something that I'm going to have to adapt to. Of course, after playing my other characters, this guy's javelin accuracy is really bad. But we'll see. We'll do a little bit of practice here, and it shouldn't be too bad. This guy's fucking throwing javelins at us, motherfucker. Get some EXP for killing these guys is what we'll get. So I'm just gonna dial him in. I was hoping that was a slow-mo kill here to finish it out. All right, so the financial side of things, right? Just like real life, right? You want to make sure your income, your monthly income is more than your expenditure, right? All you young fellas need to develop a budget. I don't know how the fuck you guys do that these days, electronically or something like that. Maybe a computer app helps you. Maybe AI helps you, and you'll never have to do that in your life. But obviously, it's one of the most important things to life. We got another one of these big daggers there. I will talk quite a bit, actually, about finances in the rough margins of this campaign. This campaign might be, I want to say, as many as 50 episodes. We shall see. It could actually exceed that if it's both interesting to people and it's as difficult as I'm planning on making it. Well, in Bannerlord, you have your upkeep for your troops, and it becomes significant early on. Even with a bunch of these basic recruits, we got 15 of these guys now. We're racking up these quests. This guy says we are a savior for hunting down bandits. I mean, we'd be doing this whether or not he wanted it or not. And every month, I think we can tackle these guys. Every month or every day, in this case, you incur costs, right? Whether it's your cell phone bill or whatever it is. You have to basically have more income, obviously, than you're spending. And if you're not fighting a lot in Bannerlord, you can run into financial issues very early on, right? This is a major factor early on because you have so little money. You want to have a big army, but like a small business, you don't want to expand too quickly, right? If you expand your army very quickly and have 37 guys or whatever it is, and you don't have enough targets, or you're just kind of mucking around and not careful, you can end up being broke really quick. And your guys will abandon you, right? If you don't pay your men, they will just say, fucking see you later. And that'll be that, right? You will be in a bad way. Not only will you be broke, but you'll be getting fucking morale. I think you get morale decreases and your troops fucking take off, right? So you got to manage your finances basically just like a small business owner. You sell 10 widgets the first month, and so you buy 20 for the second month, and you sell 20, then you buy 40, et cetera, right? It's all about geometric growth. I'm probably going to have a lot of horses killed. None of these guys have armor. And by the way, that's just the RTS mod. I'm going to use this considerably during this campaign. It's going to speed things up, make it more watchable for you. These guys I just have in a square because I want the enemy to come to me, right? I want these cavalry charging us. Unfortunately, they are so accurate with their spear, you really can't, unless they're distracted, you really can't charge like I'm used to with Zuvan. So this will probably take me a little bit of, I don't know. I'm going to try occasionally. We're killing horses left and right. I'm going to try occasionally, and I'll probably get killed a few times. But the key is winning these battles. If this guy gets knocked unconscious, it's probably going to be fine. We are going to run the Death for All mod, and I will talk more about that probably in episode 2. I'm going to have an extensive segment that talks about my plans for the campaign as well as the mods we're going to use, right? We're going to use quite a few mods for this campaign. I'm already using mods like Random Bodies and Immersive Battlefield and stuff like that, RTS mod. But we're going to use difficulty mods, and I will explain that in great detail in episode 2. For now, of course, this is just the intro. I don't want to overwhelm too many guys with 1,000 details. I already feel like I've been speed talking for 20 minutes, and I'm not that caffeinated yet. I will talk about perks in great detail at some point or other as well. But I am also not a perk master, right? When people say they want to see me play a campaign, I hope they understand that they're watching a very mediocre Bannerlord player staggering through the early stages here, trying not to get captured and look like a fucking giant dipshit, right? You can easily get captured early on. In my practice campaign, I got captured twice by looters. So it's a thing, right? Sometimes you're going to lose, sometimes you're going to overestimate your ability, or your character will take an unlucky spear and everything will go to hell, right? Obviously, that's one of the advantages of the RTS mod. Now, I want food, and I want a variety of different types because your steward skill is one of the most important skills early on in relation to leveling, right? You can gain a lot of levels and a lot of EXP simply by having a party and lots of food. And basically, let me explain that while I chase down these 5 fuck brigands. How come I'm not catching them? It said we were faster. Look at now, they're just taking off. It's like they hit the nitro somehow. I don't understand what just happened there. We'll deal with it though. Okay, so we got 1,000. I still don't. I don't know. I want that companion, but I don't think we can afford him still. Again, it's very much financial management here. Okay, so the food. Let me get back to that point on the steward. If you have lots of variety of food and you have a good-sized army, you rack up all kinds of EXP in a passive nature in the steward skill, right? So we have lots of skill points and attribute points or focus points or whatever focused on steward. And all of these guys in the army, the larger army you have and the more amount of food you have, even better if you have all 9 types. I think it's 9 types. Then you gain lots of EXP. So you're going to always see me looking at merchants and running around the little villages to make sure that, we have 1 barrel of beer and one piece of meat and stuff like that. Hogs are automatic too, by the way. Anytime you see hogs, you can almost always slaughter them and sell them back and their hides and make some money. It's incremental, and this is what I talked about earlier. This is your financial thing. This is the Bannerlord equivalent to fucking clipping coupons and shit like that, right? I guess you young guys don't clip them, you click them, right? You CLICK, right? You guys are like going to the store and it makes you fucking sign in with your app so they can study all your data and manipulate you. So that's the equivalent of this in Bannerlord, right? We slaughter our hogs, we sell the hides back, and it looked like we made about 150 profit there. Again, we're just trying to keep our finances above water here as we very slowly build our army. Oh, he says, oh. So we're getting some charm here. I don't really focus that much on charm. There's a lot of traditional skills that you're not going to see me develop. And the main reason for that, see, we got a bunch of olives for that. The main reason for that is that I'm probably not going to be trying to recruit a whole bunch of clans into our clan in this campaign. We'll see. If it gets very difficult, we may do that. That's a very traditional way that guys will get stronger, right? So you just go up to a guy and you manipulate him, right? I guess if you have high charm skill, you're like a con artist or whatever. You know, you break out your charisma, and the next thing you know, the guy betrays his kingdom. You got to give the guy money, of course. But there's a lot of skills that you're not going to see me use much because I don't play like a lot of players. You're not going to see me engage much in tactics, and what I mean by that, of course, is the skill, the perk tactics, because a lot of that affects. Okay, we'll try this. We'll try this hideout here. We've got a mediocre army, but this is a lower tiered one of these hideouts. Now you're going to see me go fast through these hideouts. I will run the RTS mod, and it might be jarring to some guys, but then once they get close, we will fire some javelins into their chest. Ah, someone beat me to it. Because these almost always are just their formalities, right? I think these are essentially designed for someone with a modicum of skill to practice their skill, to work on your javelin throws and stuff like that. We don't need a lot of that. We should be able to get a bunch of headshots. Although based on my early throws here, it looks like I need some practice too. You know, they're getting you to adapt to your character. Of course, a brand new player, you really need these because this is how you learn to swing a sword, to block, to parry, to throw your javelin and stuff like that. I will use these as opportunities to talk about other things, right? And again, a lot of these I'm not going to show you. If I clear out 15 hideouts in this campaign, I will probably show you 5 of those or something like that. In this case, though, I want to talk about the tactics skill, right? That is a perk. It's under, what the fuck's it under? Cunning or something like that? I don't know. It's a skill that I'm going to be punting. If you've never heard that term, it basically means we're going to be ignoring it. I wonder if this is, I have had a bug. I don't have very many bugs, but let's see. This is it. This is my fight against the bandits. This happens probably every third clear hideout. All I'm doing is backpedaling and holding up my shield because I can't fucking see. It doesn't show me anything. The only thing you can see is down there in the corner. I'm getting medicine skill, and fortunately our guy's cleaned up. We definitely could have lost that, but that is what it is. It doesn't even show us the recap. If someone can tell me what's going on there, if that's a conflict of mods or something like that. Desert Bandit boss. Yes, we want him. He might be expensive, but it'll be sweet to have that guy in our army. He'll probably get killed, but I digress. So the tactics skill, a lot of that is auto-resolve. It benefits your auto-resolve. Well, I'm not going to do a huge amount of auto-resolve in this campaign. We're going to crush people with tactics, real tactics, not just the AI fighting it out. The guys who auto-resolve like 90% of their fights, I have like no idea, honestly, why they're playing Bannerlord. This game is really rough around the edges. By the way, this is a sandstorm. This is one of the mods we have. It's called the Realistic Weather mod, and it has this amazing sand effect. Of course, when you're in this, very much the visuals are affected. In fact, let's see what happens here if we go into this castle. I think they'll let us in. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know if it'll affect it in this stage. It does. So look at this shit. This is going to make for some incredibly epic battles. This is going to make for some incredibly difficult battles because you have to remember the AI sees everything, right? This guy's running around getting sand in his fucking shorts. But it's going to make for some very cinematic battles, castle sieges, and defenses. So anyways, there are some skill perks that I'm going to be ignoring that a lot of players might highly suggest you indulge in, right? And all I can say is that I'm glad that I'm not playing a campaign in the way that a lot of other people play because there'll be some diversity here for you. If you've seen other playthroughs, I can almost assure you that you're going to see things in our playthrough here on this channel that you've never seen before. You're going to see us do some audacious battles. You're going to see us play the game in an unusual manner, right? And we're going to be focused on dominating the enemy through tactics, right? Obviously, it's tactical enlightenment. The other channels that are auto-resolving, I just don't find that very enlightened, right? It's just a kind of a boring way to play Bannerlord, where the focus of Bannerlord, and to me, the main driver and reason to play Bannerlord is the sophistication, brilliance, and immersiveness of the battles, right? They're highly unique, right, compared to other games. It's very tactically interesting. You can do all kinds of flanking and squares and all these advanced formations. This guy literally just disappeared. It's like he fucking buried himself in the sand. Holy fucking desert bandit hordes here. 8, 12, 16. I don't mind fighting like 10 or 12, but I don't need it to be like 37 with 15 cavalry. We'll probably get captured. We're going to try to carefully pick apart a few of these guys and divide and conquer here, right? I think this guy's cornered. Try to run this guy down. So anyways, I'll talk in great details about the perks. I'll probably have half an episode at one point that talks more about perks in great detail. I do not profess to be a perk expert, right? What I would say I'm really good at is tactics. Everything else, I have plenty of experience or some experience, but I'm not an expert, right? As I've said before, you want details on character perks and every little tiny layer of the onion peeled back. You want to head to Strat Gaming Guides. I don't know the guy, by the way. A lot of people think that like I'm sending his... Oh, I'm going to be able to catch both these fucks, I think. This guy's slow. Sweet. It pulled in the other one. I just... Like a lot of you guys, I've watched Strat Gaming Guide videos to learn about Bannerlord because he covers things in incredible detail. Now, I don't agree with everything he says or does, but almost everything that he's saying that statistically is accurate, right? He is the authority when it comes to everything from testing troop battles or explaining perks in great detail. He's got all kinds of spreadsheets and fancy shit like that. What I will be doing is using my gut. What I will be doing essentially, if his is the academic side of Bannerlord, our side is going to be the field study, right? This is 10,000 hours of experience and me trying to explain to you guys what I've found that works, right? I know there's a lot of debate about whether or not your character should have medicine skill or your companion should have medicine skill, etc. And I will be stating my case during this campaign. Look at how wild this guy's javelin throws are. It takes him forever to aim. I got sun in my eyes here as I try to chase down this fuck throwing javelins at us here. Trying to get skewered. Up close, you catch a javelin, you're pretty much out in one shot. Yeah, like I said, that was 3/4 of my health from that javelin shot right in my belly. It's literally sticking out from underneath his belt. That's what I mean about the combat system. The combat system in Bannerlord is outstanding. The AI isn't terrific. We all know that. By the way, I will be using the RBM mod for some of this campaign. I will specify that before the episode gets underway. We're not using that as a baseline, though, for this campaign. I apologize to the fellows who want me to do that. I just recognize that a lot of people either don't like it or can't use it. And so we're going to play with vanilla here. All right, so what we're doing, obviously, in this episode, we're just getting our legs under us right here. This is like kindergarten or preschool or whatever, right? We are just doing the very basic functionality of the early game Bannerlord, which effectively amounts to financial management and then surviving, right? We are making sure our credit card debt doesn't drown us here. We're making sure, like a lot of these nincompoops out there in the world, that we don't have $9,000 in a savings account making 4% interest and then a credit card with 20% interest, you know, with $6,000 in debt. There are guys like that. I know them. And they literally are just losing money through the arbitration of fucking interest rates. We're trying to stay ahead of the financial game here and build up our force. Now, you can crawl and do this process very, very scientifically and efficiently and slowly. I should say that other part about this campaign. I am not going to be playing this campaign to set a world record for conquest. I'm not going to be playing this campaign. Whoops, I'm used to just buying everything. I'm going to make some mistakes, I'm sure. I'm not going to be playing this campaign to play the most proficient, effective, fast, correct way to play. what I'm going to be doing with this campaign is I hope something that's highly unique. We are going to engage a bunch of mods. We are going to stall as well. After this main character hits, I would guess, level 20-ish, 25 at most, we're going to get him married. We're going to look for a nice hot wife. Hopefully they crank out 2, 3, 4 kids. And then I'm going to intentionally stall as a vassal of the Aserai. And let me explain that, basically. We'll take this guy, Wahan the Golden. This is what I was talking about before too. So this is a good companion. He's hopefully a future general for us. Actually, we're hoping he's a future clan leader for us, right? We're going to sell his civilian gear just like Wazoo. He's got some natural sunscreen. This guy looks like he needs a burger real bad, right? This guy is super thin. We're going to make sure he has plenty of food because he doesn't look like he can survive more than about a week in the desert without some food. We'll get him some very basic equipment here, a decent little horse. And again, I'm not going to go deep into the companions in the first episode here because I don't want this to be a 5-hour episode. But this guy is a good potential future leader. And in the short term, he's going to be a nice cavalryman for us, right? He's going to have a spear, a sword, a shield, and eventually maybe we can get him some javelins or something like that. Obviously, we have very minimal equipment early on, right? We're just putting on some rags on this guy just so that he doesn't get immediately one shot the first time rocks are thrown at his face. All right, so this campaign, and I do recognize I'm jumping around subject to subject. That's because I don't want to just sit here with no motion on the screen talking for 15 minutes about what you can expect with this campaign. So this campaign, why you should watch this first, the first reason I think you should watch this is my experience level is vast. I've played a lot of Bannerlord. And it's not this stage, right? That's why I'm kind of whipping through this process because I don't think you're going to learn an incredible amount from me from this early game. What you're gonna learn, and I think more importantly, what's going to be entertaining, is the middle and late game in this campaign. Now, I hope both of those stages take a while. And the reason is because, like I said, I'm going to stall. This is actually the main protagonist right now. In other words, he's the main hero. If you've never heard that word protagonist, it's the opposite of antagonist or the villain. This is our hero, but this guy is essentially going to be an actor in a play. This guy is going to be the father of what I hope is the main true protagonist for this series. That's part of the reason I chose this guy to be an older guy, right? That way he would have a decent skill set, hopefully get married early on, develop a small little vassalage to the Aserai Empire here, get some money, get some gold to get us started, and then we're going to intentionally stall, and we're going to use the strengthen AI mod. Now, let me mention what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to make sure I have 2 or 3 of each of these food items. That way, as my fellows consume food over the course of days, we have every single food type, and we have a sizable army now, right? It's 30 guys, and so our steward skill is going to start going through the roof, and the next thing you know, we'll be able to, I don't know how high it'll go. Maybe we'll be able to hold 50 or 60 guys, right? The troop capacity is highly related to your steward skills, right? Your amount of troops that you can command effectively. And early on, as I've mentioned before, it's all about might makes right. If you have 42 guys and you're fighting 20 desert bandits, you're probably going to win. All right, so I know, again, I'm jumping back and forth. So we are going to intentionally stall. For you, it's going to be a blink. It's going to be one episode and then the next. I might have a little episode that explains effectively what happened, but we are going to jump in Marty McFly's Back to the Future time machine, right? The DeLorean. We're going to set it 15 years into the future, and I'm essentially just going to spin the game forward, right? I'm going to park this guy with 5 companions, or with 5 companions in a castle and stall. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the map to develop, right? We're going to allow kingdoms to attack each other. We're going to allow lords to get EXP. We're going to allow them to get equipment. We're going to allow their cities to upgrade and get bigger and badder, etc. They're going to have children that are going to be a problem for us. Now, we're going to add in more than that, right? We're going to add in some really interesting elements to it. The first is we're going to use the Strengthen AI mod, and what that's going to do is make the enemy lords stronger. I'm going to give them, I haven't set on the number for sure. I think 3,000 is the number that seems to work pretty well. All of the enemy lords will gain 3,000 EXP every single day that goes by. And the reason for that is that this is going to make the enemy lords, when we sort of continue the game 15 years later, again, for you, it'll literally be one episode later, we're going to make all those lords true lords, right? Anybody who's played Bannerlord through a campaign and been disappointed when Durthert or whoever Unquid gets one shot by your first javelin, we're going to make these guys badass, right? We're going to increase their EXP, but we're also going to use a mod called Powerful Heroes to give them 2.5 times the normal health. So instead of having 150 hit points, these guys will have 400, right? Which means you're going to have to like whack and throw javelins and chase down these fucks over and over again to kill them on the battlefield, so that it's more difficult, right? So that these guys can act as the antagonists to the series, so that Unquid or Empress Regea or whoever it is that we're fighting is a beast on the battlefield. Not only will they have highly upgraded skills, but they'll have lots of hit points, right? 400 or 500, maybe even 600 hit points if they have the right perks. The Strength and AI mod, additionally, will also make their armies slightly larger. Not hugely larger. I don't want it to have a clown effect, and I will talk more in detail about that. But what it's effectively going to do is make enemy forces stronger and larger. On top of that, they'll have better strength lords leading them. Some of the lords might even have skills that exceed ours, right? Exceed our best companions. Some of the lords we'll be facing will have 290 riding skill and 280 one-handed skill and stuff like that. So it's going to feel a little bit like a tournament feels, right? When you're fighting Caladog and he whips out his two-hander and you're just fucking two-shot and can't even parry. He's so fucking fast. I want the campaign to feel like that and have battles that are just epic against monstrous opponents led by highly advanced, experienced lords, right? None of this chicken shit garbage that a lot of people face in the late game of Bannerlord where you just truck everything. We're going to have what I hope is an extremely difficult campaign. On top of that, of course, because of the time stall, there's a very real chance that some of our enemies have huge kingdoms by the time we rejoin the campaign. I'm going to kind of observe it, and I will obviously give you guys like a little, oh shit, motherfucker. How's he hitting me right through my shield? Fucking motherfucker, cut his legs down. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in 15 years. Some kingdoms will shrink, some kingdoms will get bigger, and of course the smaller kingdoms are going to be less of a threat, but the big kingdoms are going to be a huge threat, right? We're going to have, whether it's the Southern Empire, I'm not sure who's going to take over. I'm really hoping the Khazate is a major factor. But the bottom line is we're going to have changes from the original map. We're doing that for variety, and we're doing that for difficulty, right? Almost all of the things that we're going to be doing for this campaign will be difficult related, right? We're going to try to make this a brutal campaign, which is going to add a very unique element to this campaign. Normally in a campaign, victory is virtually assured. It's simply a matter of time, right? Eventually you're going to develop a large enough force to snowball, start snowballing everything. In this campaign, there's a very real chance that we lose, that we cannot win, that we have to basically call it good game, shake the hands of the AI, so to speak, and we lose, right? That the enemy forces will be huge. They're going to have very advanced lords. We're going to start off with a very small kingdom. Once we do form our own kingdom, of course, the Aserai are going to be advanced, and they're not going to like it that we're fucking saying that we're independent, just like the British, right? They're going to come down on us hard, and we may lose, right? We actually may lose this campaign. We may be in a situation where victory is impossible. And that's how I want it. I want there to be an element of the unknown for this campaign. We're going to make it incredibly difficult, which is going to lead to epic, huge battles against truly difficult opponents. This will be interesting. This is the first tournament I'm playing in this, and I don't know how this is going to go. I'm glad I have this subject to talk about here. I don't think tournaments are too interesting for some folks, but guys say they want to see everything. So at least this first episode, I'm just going to show you every single moment. Finish that point, though, and then I'll move on to my next rambling point. The bottom line is that's part of my sales pitch. Why you want to watch this campaign. Just like my deathmatch campaign, there is a chance that we cannot win. I think there's a good chance we can win. And in a perfect world, I would love it to be 50-50, where my chances of winning were literally on the edge of a knife, because that's the most interesting. That's the most stressful. That'll make for the most epic and dramatic battles. And for you, as the watcher, if this is entertaining for you, or maybe you're learning from it, that'll be the most beneficial for you, because you'll get to see a lot of very difficult battles, and you're going to get to see a lot of situations where I have to sort of use every single trick I've learned for us to survive, right? For us to win battles against outnumbered opponents in tough situations where the enemy has ferocious troops, just like this, fighting a fucking tier 5 infantryman with my scrubby character wearing a bathrobe. The rest of the campaign is going to be equally difficult, right? We're going to have to really play well and use our brain and our sword as well, right? Here I'm basically trying to occupy these guys. Of course I can beat this guy down, he's kind of weaker. I'm hoping my companion would help out here. I thought by now he'd hit him with some javelins, but evidently I've got to do it all, this stupid fuck. Whatever you do, don't help. Again, so just to emphasize that point, I think this campaign is going to be great. At a minimum, I promise you there will be some interesting battles. We will try some advanced tactics. Not just try, of course, we're going to execute some advanced tactics. I've already had a little practice playing the Aserai, and I have an insane amount of time playing Bannerlord, right? You're going to see stuff that you've probably never seen before, and at a minimum, you should be entertained, right? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? Right, we will do a little Russell Crowe emulation here. We will do our tournament mode here. I'm going to try to get to the flank of one of these guys here, because it's always better if you can pound some guy from the back, like this. You hold your shield up, I'll pound him. I'm just so weak, right? Like 2 shots and this guy's fucking dropped. And I have poor weapon speed, so I'm slow. Look at 1 shot, it's half my health. But victory, and now, okay, all we got to do is beat 1 guy here. Perfect, it's javelins. This should not be hard. Although I better seal the deal here before I look like a dipshit. Yeah, now you're fucked. You're challenging a level 10,000 javelin thrower, dude. I don't like your odds. Right in the neck, he goes down. We throw one right into his back here as we collect all the loot and fuck the prom queen and live happily ever after. Acquired ourselves a nice little piece of armor, of course. Our gear right now is ghetto, but very quickly we're going to be upgrading things, and it's going to be very interesting. Now, we'll have a mercenary stage, right? We'll probably have, I would guess, 6, 7, 8 episodes before we do our little fast forward. And again, what I mean by that is we're going to engage some of these mods. We're going to make enemy lords much stronger. By the way, those mods are not active right now. The difficulty mods, we don't have monstrously powerful lords leveling up right now. Prince, I think this is another good one. Yeah, we'll take him. Any of these guys that can potentially be future leaders of clans and or good warriors, we'll take them. I'd love to have just pure warriors. And this guy actually might end up being a warrior. We've already got the golden, whatever the golden fuck. These guys eventually I'll know by name as this campaign goes a month or 2 or 3. Just like Wazoo, all these guys are getting stripped. It's hot out here anyways. It's 110 degrees. By the way, that's part of the reason I wanted to do an Aserai campaign, because I'm in the Pacific Northwest of the United States of America, and I'm looking out the window right now. It's fucking pouring rain. For here, we get about a 4-month period where it rains every day. That's where the city gets its reputation, right? Everybody's sort of heard, or a lot of people, especially Americans, have heard the reputations of Seattle's rain. It's not from our summers. Our summers are nicer than like anywhere else on Earth. Literally, like we have the best summers in the world here. And maybe if I'm bored, I'll talk more about that. But it rains here every day, so I wanted to have the nice, bright Aserai sun to sort of keep my spirits high this winter as we engage in this campaign. Get a little autosave here. Of course, we're not doing the, what's it called? The Iron Man. I'm going to have multiple save games, but we're not going to be save scumming. The exception would be like where there's a crash, a mod goes haywire, or something really calamitous happens. I guess if my character got killed right now, I would reload a save game because I think the campaign would finish. We're just escorting this caravan, by the way. This is one of the easier quests early on. You just basically follow these dipshits. These are all staged, or whatever you want to call them. These are scripted. They get attacked by these raiders. And then you go in and help them. And these are look at 47 against 32. These are the kind of battles where you could almost just F1, F3 every single one of these, and you're going to win. We may do a little bit of tactics, but honestly, it doesn't really matter much. I'm going to try to get some EXP here for my character. I'm going to try to cut some of these raiders down for ourselves here, and we'll collect some loot and money with these quests. Quests like this are gold because it basically just feeds you battles over and over again. God, look how bad his javelin skills are. Every one is like I'm drunk at the toilet. It's just hitting the fucking toilet seat. It's hitting the back of the fucking... Oh shit, there goes half my health. I didn't know they had... That looked like a javelin. I thought these guys all had bows. Oh, shit. I was holding my shield up and I still got killed. Oh, well. All right. So we got... This is the golden guy. It's not going to matter, I think. Unless Wazoo gets killed, then we'll have to reload the save game. I just said we won't save scum, and maybe we'll have to. We are going to run the Death for All mod. And again, I know I've been covering these mods kind of in piecemeal here as my brain thinks about them. I will have probably a 5 to 10 minute episode, or at least beginning of an episode, that talks all about the different mods we're going to be engaging, how they will affect the campaign, how they will make it harder, and then why I think if you're an advanced player at Bannerlord, you should be using these mods, right? I don't think this is the perfect recipe, but I think it's a pretty darn good recipe to make up for the fact that the AI in Bannerlord is mediocre. Maybe that's being generous. The AI in Bannerlord oftentimes is a dumpster fire. So this guy's got this incredibly slow sword. This battle's over. We're just going to speed it up. But a lot of guys see my late game campaign, the one that we just sort of indefinitely put on hold. I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it, in case you're new to the channel or whatever. But we had a deathmatch campaign against the whole map in an incredibly late game setting. And it was really interesting. And I get a lot of people who are like, well, how do I get that? How do I set that up in my own game? I'm thinking with these mods, you can set up something kind of similar where it's dreadfully difficult. And I mean that in a good way, of course. Dreadfully normally is not something you want from your video game, but if you want a very difficult experience, more than Bannerlord difficulty, these mods will help you get there. All right, so we're continuing to escort this caravan. I'm continuing to ramble about 27 subjects at once. I already have now told you, you should make sure you don't have credit card debt and a savings account. I will get into great detail with that at some point, right? It depends on how slow some of these episodes are, but I will talk about money and making it work for you. I do recognize there are a lot of young viewers on the channel, and unfortunately, most Western societies and societies in general do an awful job. I don't know if I can pull this off here. I'm trying to double dip here, collect some looter, kill some looters here, finish some quests, take their loot, and then keep up this caravan. Most societies, especially Western cultures, do a terrible job of educating their citizens, educating their young people how to save money, how to basically get ahead in the money game. Because the reality is it's really one of two ways. You're either losing money through debt, or you're gaining money through interest, the opposite of debt, right? You have assets, you have, you have an account with some kind of investing company where your stocks are going up, right? Your money's either working for you or you're working for your money, right? If you have lots of credit card debt and you're working a shit job, I will hopefully have some nuggets of wisdom for you outside of Bannerlord. I recognize a lot of you fellas are young, and I think it's almost incumbent on me as a highly experienced, and what I mean by that is financially highly experienced 50-year-old to help you guys out in that direction. Again, we're doing some upgrades here, but I'm not upgrading every single guy, nor am I upgrading every single prisoner, because I don't want to destroy our morale. You see, it hurts your morale when you recruit these prisoners to your army. I think there is a perk that decreases that, but I digress. I'll have to do a little bit more studying. Again, for the second time, go see Strat Gaming Guides. Is that the end of the quest? The guy ran into this caravan I'm protecting, ran into Hubyar here. Maybe he's just trying to get laid tonight. We'll stall a little bit here. I got to continue. Look at 61. Oh, shit. There's the steward skills that I mentioned earlier. It's going through the roof. So this campaign is not even an hour old, and already this guy can field an army of 60 troops, and we're going to use that to great effect. Not right away. Of course, we've got to, I just mentioned it, right? We're going to make sure our money's working for us. We're going to make sure that we're upgrading guys slowly here and staying ahead of the fiscal game. This guy's got two-handed skill in throwing. We can afford a little bit of gear here, but I got to be careful how much money I spend on my companions. Of course, you can go broke just decking out your companions, and then you can't pay your troops, and suddenly it's you and this guy in a bar looking at each other like, well, what do we do now? Now we got to go wait fucking at that tavern again, the Sandy Crotch, and we're gonna have to work the field during the day just to get our finances back. But that steward skill is going to help immensely, especially once we're a mercenary. We're going to fucking rake in some money. I've got some really interesting ideas on how to rake in money. Of course, I've already had a few episodes that are secondary to this campaign that talk about that. And of course, it has a lot to do with defending cities and or assisting our I was going to say our kingdom, whatever kingdom is paying us in big battles, right? I'm going to essentially try to show you guys some ways you can make, to me, it's the best way to make money. You know, I know you can do smithing and fucking run errands. We can win a Cossian, but our health is like nil. There's no reason for us not to do this. I'm just going to probably get killed right away, but we'll try this. But I'm going to try to show you, I guess, what I consider a much more enjoyable and thorough way to dominate at Bannerlord. The guys that smith and go through the grind for a year, and they're all excited because they made $1 million or $500,000 dinars in 6 months, and it only took them, you know, 6 hours or whatever of gameplay. I think in 3 or 4 hours we might have $1 million. I'm going to show you some badass mercenary ideas. And the main precept, the main concept of how it's going to work, or how at least I hope it's going to work, is through tactics, right? We are going to engage in some arrows to the face. We're going to engage in this tournament's over. Never mind. We'll just exit this. We are going to engage in some battles that I hope for us are enormously profitable, and it will be enormously profitable in every single way. And let me explain. When you win enormous battles as a mercenary, very difficult battles, you get everything, right? You get to fuck the prom queen. You get it all. And what I mean by that is you get influence, you get renown, right, which helps and moves your clan tier up. You get loot, right, which makes your character stronger. You get skills, which makes your character stronger. You get gold. Your guys pillage money. Then your mercenary contract goes crazy because it's based on how many enemies you killed, so you get more gold. Then you get more loot than you could ever possibly use, so then you get more gold. You guys are getting the idea. Of course, a lot of the guys that I'm talking to, you guys already know all this. Maybe some of you guys are doing it much better than I am, but for the people who've never seen this before, I think it's really going to open your eyes, because yeah, you can do smithing and you can make whatever $500,000 dinars in a year or some shit. It's so fucking boring. For those guys doing that, man, I mean, more power to you, but I'm going to try to show you a way to make money in Bannerlord, where you will not just get rich and have a good time, but you will gain everything. You will gain renown. You will fuck the prom queen. You will get elite armor and equipment for your units. Your units will get stronger, right? Your companions will level up faster. It's basically every single thing you can think of. You will get it all, right? You will get relations with your kingdom of choice. What haven't I mentioned? It's virtually everything, right? It's just a huge benefit to you'll get troops, you'll get prisoners, you'll get charm for helping guys, you'll get roguery from selling prisoners to the cities. It's just a monster. Not to mention you can power level some of your skills, throwing, siege, etc. Again, I will show you all of this, probably episode 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there. Look how slow I swing. I got it. I swing so slow I get killed. Again, hopefully it's not actually killed. Again, this battle's over. We'll just wrap this up. It's nice to get some EXP for Wahan the Golden here, because I consider this guy right now, this guy's going to be my right-hand man. Until I get a wife who's badass, this guy's going to be my lieutenant, right? This guy's going to be imperative for our campaign. He's going to be one of my top warlords. Of course, he might get killed. But right now, Wahan, it feels perfect with Wazoo. We got Wazoo and Wahan. These guys are going to be important in this campaign. All right, I think I've covered mostly what I wanted to cover this first episode. Again, I know I'm showing you every single detail. I really hope this doesn't turn people off. I know there's some guys who X'd out. I can literally check the analytics and see, okay, guys averaged 12 minutes of watching this episode. That means guys got bored at some point. I'm really trying to walk a fine line between boring guys and also giving them a conclusive, complete playthrough here. So that's something you guys can leave feedback. Of course, in the future, I'm definitely not planning on showing you every single fight against brigands and looters and shit like that. Same thing with tournaments. You're gonna see me one episode have a weak piece of armor, and the next one probably have a nice piece of armor because we won a tournament, and I'm not going to show you every single ounce of detail. Hopefully you guys that want to see every single ounce in detail can forgive me of that, and hopefully the fellas that want to see 6-minute episodes because they got TLDR and attention span difficulties, hopefully I can help you guys. By having longer episodes, we're probably strengthening all your brain muscles and whatever the fuck. Grizzle. I think this is a crossbow guy. Yeah, we like this guy. He's got tactics, he's got endurance, he swings a weapon well, and he's got crossbow. We'll have to go to Vlandia territory probably to get a crossbow, but I like this guy. You can see me already starting to form a foundation of companions here for the campaign. Again, I will talk about that in great detail. I will have side portions of certain campaigns, and I will try to make either the title or the description reflect when it's going to cover something in greater detail, right? Like this episode, we're really going to be talking about companions, perks, future builds, and stuff like that. But this seems like a perfect spot for me to wrap up episode 1 here. I'm getting a little dry mouthed. I've been monologuing now for a solid hour. I appreciate you fellas for tuning into this campaign. I'm very excited for this campaign. I haven't really played the Aserai much. Of course, we did the practice run, but this is going to be far more dynamic, far more lasting, and far more epic. It's also going to be far more difficult once we add in these difficulty mods. Do a few last skill perks here, and then we'll wrap this up. These try actually, if I can't decide, I literally flip a coin. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys subscribe if you want to see more. We'll be posting 2-3 episodes a week. Please hit the like button. I appreciate you fellas. Go ahead and leave comments, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys next time.